Good, very good, sir. Okay, welcome to Eco 501 Section 2, Week 6. And today is Tuesday, the 8th of March, 2022, Spring 2022, etc. So today what we will do, we will look at one little concept of elasticity of demand that last week I failed to show. And then we will discuss the 4 practice questions. And finally, we'll discuss the midterm. So basically our discussion class today will be divided into 2 parts. Part 1 will be the discussion of the elasticity of demand special case, and part 2 will be the practice questions and the midterm. Okay, so before I start the elasticity of demand part, let me do a very quick summary. Elasticity of demand means how flexible or not flexible our responses to some changes. So if our demand is very responsive to a price change, we call it elastic. If it's responsive to an income change, we call it income elastic. If it's responsive to time, it can be responsive to anything. It can even be responsive to geographical location. For example, the neighborhood grocery shop. Although 2 blocks down the road, something might be cheap, but at 10 o'clock, you are not flexible enough to walk that part and go to that cheaper shop. So your demand becomes less responsive. Acha. Before we get into the graph, আমরা আরেকটা জিনিস বলি, at high income groups or at high levels of prices, people's demand for a commodity tends to be responsive. That means that the demand tends to be elastic. এটা বুঝছেন সবাই? For example, a high-end pizza, এটার প্রাইসটা যদি হঠাৎ করে কমে যায়, মানুষের ডিমান্ডটা অনেক বেশি বেড়ে যাবে না?
Yes, sir. বেড়ে যাবে।
বেড়ে যাবে তো, and we've also last week we came to the conclusion, if people demand more of a product, that is good news for the business house because their sales will increase.
Sir.
By the same argument, a low-end pizza which does not sell at a high price, the demand for those pizzas are less responsive. Let me give you a small example. For example, many of you are now working. When you were in your undergrad, your demand for you might have been, because you're on a tight budget, you might have enjoyed some 40 taka 50 taka pizza. ঠিক আছে? And your demand for those pizzas was less responsive because you could not afford to go to a high level. Now that you have money and now that you can afford the high-end pizzas, your demand over there will be responsive. Acha, what is the summary of this? Seta hocche, many business houses, they differentiate their customers. What does differentiate mean? They separate their customers. They throw one commodity at a high price, another commodity at a low price. We will be giving some more examples of this, but before that, now we'll go look at the graph first. Okay, can you see the slides?
Yes, sir.
Okay, lovely. So, as I said, topic 1, elasticity at different points of a demand curve, practice questions, and the last topic will be our midterm, which we will discuss at the end. Acha, this is the demand curve. This demand curve has intentionally been shown as a straight line demand curve. The objective of showing it as a straight line demand curve is very simple. We all know that the slope, i.e. the inclination of a straight line, is the same at all points. For example, এই straight লাইনটাকে যদি আমরা স্মৃতিসৌধের একটা স্তম্ভ মনে করি, isn't the inclination the same to the reference axis, which is x?
Yes, sir.
মানে এটা যদি এরকম ভাবে হতো, এইভাবে ঘুরছে টুরছে, then we would have said that the inclination is increasing, decreasing. But over here, the inclination is just the same, whether we move from A to B or C to D. So slope by definition on a straight line is the same. Acha. So this is the slope. But elasticity is defined as the product of two things. One, the slope del Q by del P times where on the demand curve you are. Demand curve যেখানে আমরা থাকবো that will influence the P by Q ratio. কিরকম? If we are at point A, isn't P by Q going to be greater than 1? Look at P and look at Q. What is the ratio? 10 by 2 na?
Yes, sir.
So, so the ratio is very high. But if we look at point C, ওই same P by Q ratio টা কি 1 এর চেয়ে কম না? 3 divided by 16. Does everybody see that? At point C,
Yes, sir.
3 and Q is 16. So P by Q ratio is 3 by 16. That means less than 1. Acha, what conclusion can we draw from here? At high levels of prices, if P by Q is greater than 1, elasticity greater than 1 হবে না? Because the slope is the same throughout the demand curve, whether we travel from A to B or C to D. The difference is in the P by Q ratio. So P by Q এখানে কত? Greater than 1 না? In the AB region, 10 by 2, 9 by 4. Both are greater than 1. What about the CD region? 3 by 16, 2 by 18. Both are less than 1. তাই না?
Yes, sir.
So, and we have also learned from last week, when demand is elastic, that means demand is responding to a change. If we reduce the price, income that contributes to positive revenue. When demand is inelastic, when demand is less responsive to price change, when we increase the price, it contributes to revenue. এই জিনিসটাই আমরা একই ডিমান্ড কার্ভে আজকে দেখব. So, although the slope is the same throughout the whole demand curve, depending where you are at AB or CD, the P by Q ratio changes. At AB, it is greater than 1. From here, later on, we will see that that means elasticity is greater than 1. That means it's elastic, it's responsive. In the CD region, P by Q ratio is less than 1. So the demand over here is inelastic. That means it's less responsive. The position of the demand curve influences the P by Q ratio, although the slope is constant all through. আচ্ছা, এখন আমরা we are going to move from A to B. As we move from A to B, what are we observing? Price কমে যাচ্ছে না?
Yes, sir. Price
Yes,
comment.
Okay. And quantity is increasing, right?
Yes, sir.
তাইলে as we move from A to B, price যেহেতু কমে যাচ্ছে, তার মানে কি del P মাইনাস হবে না? Isn't the change in price minus?
Yes. Yes.
Because
Yes.
we started off with price 10 at P1, and at B we end up with price 9. And that means last observation minus first observation. 9 minus 10 minus 1. কমে গেছে. So the del in P is minus. But quantity has increased from 2 to 4. So the del Q is positive. এটা সবাই বুঝতে পারছে?
Yes, sir.
Good. And what is the P by Q ratio? The P by Q ratio is, we started at 10, sorry, at A. So P is 10, Q is 2. So 10 by 2 is equal to 5. So what is the elasticity of demand? Minus 10. What does that mean? Elasticity of demand minus 10 means if there is a 1% decrease in price, the increase in demand is 10 times. 1% decrease in price, increase in demand is 10 times. That means just for a little price change, P people are demanding much more. When people demand much more, due to that a little price change, demand is highly responsive. That means people are willing to buy more. That contributes to the revenue of the firm. ঠিক আছে? Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. তাহলে আমরা এই পর্যন্ত এটা তো বোঝাই যাচ্ছে, আমি পরে ইন্টারপ্রিটেশন গুলো পরে বলবো। আচ্ছা, what about if we move from B to A? এখন কি হচ্ছে? প্রাইস বেড়ে যাচ্ছে না?
Yes, sir.
তাহলে look, that means the change in P is now positive because price has increased from 9 to 10. That means now we calculate 10 minus 9. What has happened to quantity as we moved from B to A? Quantity কমে গেছে। তো quantity কমে যাওয়া মানে কি? Del Q must be negative.
-2.
হ্যাঁ, -2. ব্যাপারটা হচ্ছে, those of you who are not confident with mathematics, del P positive মানে price has changed after the price has increased after the change. Del P negative means price has fallen after the change. That's it. Same argument for Q. And
Sir,
the P, sorry.
why it's 2 minus 4 in del Q?
Acha, very good. What are we doing? Now we are moving from B to A, right?
Yes, sir.
So very good. So as we move from B to A, our initial output was 4 and our next last output is 2, right?
Okay, sir. Changes in there is last output minus initial. Okay,
good.
sir.
তাহলে এটা এখন ক্লিয়ার তো না?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. তাহলে এখন আমাদের P by Q রেশিওটা 9/4 কেন? At B, price is 9 and quantity is 4. So we have 9/4. তাহলে আমাদের elasticity of demand হচ্ছে 0.4 minus 4.5. What does that mean? If price increases by 1%, because we are looking at a price increase this time from B to A, demand falls by 4.5%. তার মানে কি টোটাল রেভিনিউ আলটিমেটলি কমে যাবে না?
Yes, sir.
না, some people are not in, বুঝতে পারছে না মনে হচ্ছে। আচ্ছা, let's see it again. We are moving from B to A. Elasticity of demand আসছে 4.5. That means if price increases by 1 taka or $1 or whatever, demand falls by 4.5 units. তার মানে মানুষ আগের তুলনায় অনেক কম কিনবে if the price goes up. So what signal does that send to the firms? If they increase their price in the highly elastic region, the demand is responsive. So demand কমে যাবে আরো অনেক বেশি. So if people are willing to buy less, that sends a bad signal to the revenue of the firm. ঠিক আছে? তাই না?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. আচ্ছা, এখন এরপরে আমাদের কি, এখন আমরা সিডিটা তো এখন I think everybody should understand very well, না? সিডিতে প্রাইস পড়ে যাচ্ছে, so del P again is negative because price has fallen. From C to D, quantity has increased from 16 to 18, so del Q is positive. Because we are in the inelastic part of the demand curve, এখন তাহলে কি হচ্ছে? The P by Q ratio is now less than 1. So what does that mean? Elasticity of demand is 0.375. If we reduce the price by 1 taka, quantity demanded increases by 37 paisa. Does that mean more income or less income after the price change? If we reduce the price by 1 taka, demand increases by 37 paisa. তাতে আমাদের রেভিনিউটা আগের তুলনায় বাড়বে না কমবে?
কমবে, স্যার।
কমবে। Who said কমবে?
কমবে।
এবার আবার বলি, you just think লজিক্যালি চিন্তা করি তাহলে জিনিসটা খুব ইজি আসবে। প্রাইস কমেছে 1 টাকা, ডিমান্ড বাড়বে, বাট বেড়েছে 37 পয়সা, তাহলে আলটিমেটলি রেভিনিউ কমে যাবে না?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
ওকে, the opposite will happen if we increase the price in the inelastic region. এই জিনিসটা আমরা গত কালে দেখেছি। So if we move from D to C now, এই যে D to C, what do we observe? Price is increasing, এই যে del P is plus 1, and as we move from D to C, quantity is falling, so del Q is minus 2 and P by Q is eto. So what does this mean? If we increase the price by 1 taka, demand will fall, but demand will fall by 22 paisa. তাহলে কি আমাদের রেভিনিউ বেড়ে যাবে না? প্রাইস বেড়ে যাওয়া মানে হচ্ছে আমাদের রেভিনিউ বাড়ছে। ডিমান্ড কতটুকু কমেছে? প্রাইসের চেয়ে কম কমেছে না? 22 পয়সা। So what will happen to the total revenue? রেভিনিউটা আগের তুলনায় বেড়ে যাবে না?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. This is we saw, and another thing, if you look at this graph, সব জায়গায় কিন্তু 1 টাকা ডিফারেন্স দেখানো হয়েছে, তাই না? 10 to 9 or 9 to 10, 3 to 2 or 2 to 3. The price change in the elastic in the top and inelastic in the bottom is the same. Quantity is the same thing. 2 to 4, it has increased or decreased by 2 units. 16 to 18, it has increased or decreased by 2 units. ঠিক আছে?
Yes, sir. Equal increment. Yes, sir.
But because of the PQ ratio, that means depending on where we are, at AB region, P by Q is greater than 1. In the CD region, P by Q is less than 1.
Yes, sir.
ঠিক আছে? That's why in the AB region, it is elastic, it's responding to the price change. In the CD region, it's
Inelastic. Yes,
not
sir.
responding to the price change. এবং that also tells us ইলাস্টিকে আমরা প্রাইস কমালে রেভিনিউ বাড়বে, ইনইলাস্টিকে প্রাইস বাড়ালে রেভিনিউ বাড়বে। আচ্ছা, এখন হলো this has an important implication. আচ্ছা, এখানে কি লিখছি আমি? এই তো, হ্যাঁ, ওকে। Lots of pizza joints or any food joint, they have two types of pricing. Why? They have two types of clienteles. They have one clientele who are in the high income bracket, who can afford to buy at a high price. That means income chole asche. They also have a clientele in the low income bracket who can't afford 9-10 taka. They're in the 2-3 taka. So have you noticed lots of food joints, they sell the same product in two different packages?
Yes,
Premium,
sir. Definitely.
premium and regular. Huh?
Yes, sir.
Why do they do that? Because they know that their clientele, for example, jara regular price কিনবে, they may be students, ঠিক আছে,
Yes, sir.
who live on a very tight budget or small pocket money, and in the high income bracket, it may be service holders, they can afford it. So এটা একটা very important implication হচ্ছে, because we have different clienteles, businesses can sell the same product in two different ways. Mobile phones do that. For example, if you look at iPhone iPhone 13, iPhone 13 Pro, I think for
Yes,
Pro,
sir.
নানান রকমের কারসাজি করেন ওরা, করে কি করে,
Yes, sir.
দাম এক এক রকম করে। They know that the regular ফোনটা যারা কিনবে, their demand is not that responsive. But
Yes, sir.
the ones who are going to buy the Pro, the Pro X, etc., their demand will be highly responsive. এবং ওখানে কিন্তু সমস্ত অফারগুলো ওখানে দেয়, তাই না?
Yes, sir.
ঠিক আছে, নানান রকমের ক্যাশব্যাক অফার দেয়, কিন্তু লো এন্ডে দেয় না। কেন লো এন্ডে দেয় না কেন? বিকজ দ্য ডিমান্ড ইজ নট রেসপন্ডিং টু দ্য প্রাইস চেঞ্জ। সেই জন্য they can afford to be a little bit cautious in the low end one. In the high end one, they have to be generous.
Yes, sir.
Acha, let me give you another example that I gave in the last section. সেটা হচ্ছে, many doctors in Dhaka city, they might charge 1000 টাকা 1200 টাকা for a visit, right? একটা visit
Yes, sir.
1500 টাকা এখন কিন্তু মোটামুটি একটা ভালো ডাক্তারের রেটই 1000 এর নিচে কারো রেট নাই। বাট দিস সেম ডক্টর অন আ ফ্রাইডে, তার দেশের বাড়ি যদি কাছে হয়, সে দেশে গিয়ে ফ্রি ফ্রাইডে করে না?
Yes, sir. They will take less.
They don't take money, or even if they do take money, they take a very minimum charge. Why? This same doctor, when he's in Dhaka, he's operating in the 910 bracket in the AB region. When he's going to his village, ঠিক আছে, he's giving the same service in the CD, তার মানে 3 to 2 range.
Yes,
This is
sir.
doctors do that. You will find lots of lawyers, they also do that. ঢাকা শহরে হয়তো তার বড় বড় ক্লায়েন্ট আছে, তাদের কাছে প্রিমিয়াম রেট রাখছে, আবার বাড়িতে যখন যাচ্ছে, আচ্ছা মানে যারা আইনের সুবিধাটা জানে না বা নিতে পারে না, তাদেরকে ফ্রি সার্ভিস দিচ্ছে।
Yes, sir. যেমন দেখা যায় বিভিন্ন কনসার্টের স্টেডিয়ামেও বিভিন্ন এক একটা সিটের রেঞ্জ আলাদা থাকে। কেউ যদি ফার্স্ট সারিতে বসে তার প্রাইস রেঞ্জ একরকম, একদম লাস্ট সিটে থাকে আরেকটা রেঞ্জ হয়। অ্যাকর্ডিং টু যাদের এফোর্ট যতটুকু করতে পারে তাও
বাট এভরিবডি ইজ ইন দ্য সেম থিং কিন্তু, তাই না?
Yes, sir.
আচ্ছা, তারপর ব্র্যাক ইউনিভার্সিটি ডাজ দ্য সেম থিং। ব্র্যাক ইজ আ প্রাইভেট ইউনিভার্সিটি, so they will rationalize we are not a government university, we don't get grants from the government, that's why the cost of our degree is very high. At the same time, as ব্র্যাক ইউনিভার্সিটি is operating in the AB region, সে সিটি তো একটা কাজ করছে, সেটা হচ্ছে কিছু কিছু স্টুডেন্টকে ব্র্যাক কি ফুল স্কলারশিপ দিচ্ছে না? দ্যাট মিন্স টিউশন
Yes,
ওয়েভার
sir.
টোটালি
Yes,
ওয়ে
sir. 100% scholarship. Yes,
100%
sir.
প্লাস পকেট মানিও দেয়,
জি, sir.
ঠিক আছে? সো ব্র্যাক ডাজ দ্য সেম থিং। হ্যাঁ,
Yes,
সো
sir.
সো এইটা বলার উদ্দেশ্যটা হচ্ছে যে why do business houses do this? We can explain that to a large degree by responsiveness to demand. এখানে আমরা হাই প্রাইস মানে হাই ইনকাম ব্র্যাকেট, লো প্রাইস মানে লো ইনকাম ব্র্যাকেট, বাস হয়ে গেল।
Yes, sir.
And if you want, you can make this more complex. এখানে আমরা দুইটা ইনকাম ব্র্যাকেট দেখালাম। You could find a case study where you can show 3 income brackets, ঠিক আছে? 3 people respond in 3 different ways, ঠিক আছে?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now does it make sense?
Yes, sir. It makes
Yes,
sense.
sir.
Okay, good. আচ্ছা, good. এটা it's a very interesting thing. আচ্ছা, তাইলে আমরা we have finished part 1 where I wanted to discuss this thing. Does anybody have any questions regarding part 1 of what we discussed? If not, I'll stop the part 1 and then I'll start part 2 discussing the practice questions set 1 to 4. কারো কোনো কোশ্চেন আছে?
স্যার, আমার একটা কোশ্চেন ছিল, পার্ট 1 শেষ হয়ে আসছে, আসলে স্যার ক্লাসটা শুরু হয়েছিল কয়টায়?
6:45.
ও মাই গুডনেস, আমার তাহলে লেট হয়ে গেছে স্যার, আমি মাত্র জয়েন করলাম তো এজন্য বুঝতে পারলাম না কোথা থেকে স্টার্ট হলো। মাই ব্যাড স্যার।
যেটা হচ্ছে ওই 6:30 তে I can start at 6:30, but ওই মাগরিবের সাথে ক্ল্যাশ করে তো সেজন্য I started 15 minutes late, and even if whatever time I start, I am always 5 minutes late.
ওকে
So we
স্যার,
started
স্যার
basically at
আমি
6:50.
আমার দেরি হয়ে গেছে আজকে এজন্যই।
No problem. You can do one thing, মানে এই
I will catch up the recording, sir.
recording to kindly catch করো, and this recording is a small one, so it won't be that cumbersome.
Okay, sir.
So does anybody have any questions regarding part 1?
No, sir.
Okay, তাহলে আমি এটা অফ করে দেই।